Hello and welcome everybody to the nomination ceremony of the first annual BiteMe Game Awards. I am your co-host today, Thomas Evers, and of course I am accompanied by my lovely co-founder, colleague and partner in crime, Marnix Wans. Marnix, how are you doing and why don't you tell the people what the hell is going on?
Are you guys ready for the greatest YouTuber award show? At least the greatest game dev YouTuber award show that ever has existed, guys. We've had a very hectic final day preparing for this nomination stream. I kind of underestimated the total amount of work it takes to run an event like this, but I think the final result is definitely going to be worth it. And of course, this is just the beginning. This is just a nomination stream. You also remember tune in on December 20th when the games that we announced today as nominations, we'll find out who is actually going to win. We've gotten hundreds of submissions. It took a long time for us to go through all of them, didn't it, Thomas? Like, I asked you, like, hey, let's all sit together and go through all of these submissions. Turns out, if you have an audience of over 35,000 subscribers who are all game devs, a lot of them make games, and a lot of those games are also really good. So honestly, I'm very impressed so far already with the quality of the games that has been delivered. So I hope that you guys also have that as well here. We've gotten a bunch of categories. Maybe one quick thing that I do want to say. One category, unfortunately, had to drop out, the best devlog category. I kind of was surprised that we only got 4 submissions for that one. Other categories, we got plenty of submissions. It just seems that game developers aren't really the best when comes to like being on camera and talking about their games. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe with that, we can already dive into the first category, which is the biggest blast. So maybe a quick rundown. What was the category again, Marnix?
Yes, so the biggest blast, what we were focusing on here is fun. This is kind of an experience where we are looking at, okay, we look at these games and maybe like they're not perfect in a specific thing like visuals or in super deep mechanics, but what they excel at is being just incredibly goddamn fun to look at and to play as well. These are games that, just are plain old fun, because that is what games are about at the end of the day. You can have the most pretty game in the world. If it's not fun, that's not always the best thing to do that. So we are really focusing on pulling out all stops on these games, just going balls to the walls. I guess this is a sponsored show. I shouldn't say that, but giving their all in giving a fun experience to the players. So with that out of the way, Thomas, can you give us, like, the anticipation is killing me, what are the nominations for biggest blast?
Let's take a quick look. Let's go!
So we have a Bonesaw. Next up, we have Harbinger by DobberX as well. He's a long-time viewer as well, and he makes good games. Next up, Grid Road by Raja Corp as well. We have covered this trailer as well. It's generally just a blast to play as well. And then finally, Xeno Runners. This is definitely one of those games that you can just feel the adrenaline from, which is perfectly fitting for this category, if you ask me as well.
And those were the nominations. I think it's very fun to see that we have a variety of, genres, first of all, and even visual styles. What do you think?
Yeah, I think visual styles kind of is an interesting one, actually, because I think we had a pretty good mix overall of 2D and 3D games submitted to the award show in general. I think this one definitely, we always say that, hey, 3D is better than 2D, but that doesn't mean that if you can make really good 2D art, you can still show up in an award show and you can still really stand out on Magical Steam and all of that. So yeah, maybe that is a good segue, I would say, almost to the second one, because we're talking about those visuals, 2D, 3D. What about, the games that are just really pretty, the works of art, as you could say this? So these are the games that were released in the past year that just look plain old beautiful, that really do something unique with the visual medium that games is at the end of the day as well. Oh, I just disappeared.
We still hear you. You can keep going.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe this is the point to go and actually play the nominations whilst we try to fix this.
Exactly. Let's go.
The first game is Cargo. Next up, we once again have Harbinger, bringing the power of Unreal with a mix of 2D sprites as well. I think this is a very creative approach, if you ask me, for the games and how they look.
Descend into madness.
Next up, we have Tower of Madness, what looks like, you know, on first glance, it's kind of a Cinti flip. It does do a lot with visuals, showing that even if you're not a talented 3D artist... Oh god, I'm going too slow. Xeno Runners, once again, super high-paced, let's go. Very nice. The worlds were very alien, and that was also one of the reasons that, you know, this just looks so out there and so nice as well.
Yeah, as you could see, there is a lot of, well, nominations and categories to cover, so we do go quick. Also, this is not the most personal thing, but Marnix, it seems like you have to reappear on stream right now.
Okay,
And you're back.
I am back.
Your audio
Beautiful.
is... You're muted. You're double. I hear you twice. Your Streamlabs is not... muted.
Okay, now you only hear
There
me
we
once.
go. Let's go.
Let's go. This is the first time, after all, that we're doing these award shows, so bear with us. This is kind of how we're going to prepare as well for that more grand show that we're planning later on in the month. We're trying to feel out, like, hey, how does this work, and what are some of the technical challenges that we're probably going to work through as well.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, the actual award show, remember, the December 20th, 8 p.m. CET, sorry. We will also be physical, so we will not have the drop in quality, and expect an even more high-tech stream then. So, Marnix, what do you think about the work of art category?
I think work of art, definitely some really pretty games in there. So I know we saw some games already twice now, but I think definitely that this is maybe a good one as well. I just want to talk a bit about the fact of we unfortunately had to disqualify a bunch of games. I think this was a category where there was a game that I kind of wanted to give an honorable mention for.
Same.
Maybe we'll have an honorable mention category in like the full award show that looked really beautiful, that I was like, oh my god, you're really pushing kind of what you can do here with games. But unfortunately, they hadn't released before the deadline, so we had to disqualify them. I'm very sorry, developers, but I think regardless, there were still a lot of good visual looking games in here as well. So yeah, I think overall, once again, most of our audience is programmers. I think that's something to keep in mind as well. So I'm still very much impressed by what I think it's like 13% of our audience who watches us is primarily an artist, and like 75% plus is programmers. So I'm still kind of impressed with the final quality. Definitely better than what we can do. And maybe going back to those things that we can do, Thomas, this is one that is maybe more near and dear to your heart. Game mechanics. This leads us to the next category, the category of mechanic magic. Can you maybe give us a bit more of an explanation, Thomas? What exactly is a game mechanic and how are we judging these things?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, these are the games where if you look at it, the idea is like, damn, why didn't I think of this? It can be a unique hook, a unique game mechanic, all those things. We don't care about art. We care about, well, the way your gameplay and the specific what mechanic you implement in that gameplay to make yourself stand out. So with that said,
it's definitely for the coders and less for the artists.
So let's take a look at the nominations.
First off, once again, Grid Road looks like a simple idea. Actual implementation of simulating traffic, you know, not always the easiest thing. And next up, we also have Graveyard Gunslingers, what takes a survivor-like game, but then adds a whole bunch of mechanics on top of it, making it a fresh experience every run and standing out from the competitions as well. This is one that we honestly just loved, Soccer in a Box. This is definitely the idea of, why didn't I think of that? And it's, as you can see, it looks like a blast, and it also has simple but effective mechanics. And then lastly, we get Tyranny, which is maybe the opposite of Soccer in a Box, that is just super in-depth, and it's like, I don't want to think about how much development time this took.
Yeah, what I really love about this category is like the stark contrast, like you mentioned, between Soccer in a Box, which is just complete silliness, very simple art, everything, and then you have like, for example, Tyranny, where it's just so in depth, and then everything in between. For example, the survivor, like we just saw as well. So that's why I think this is a really fun category. There are also some really interesting suggestions, or like, well, not suggestions, but like people submissions. My bad. And I think it was a very varied category to pick from. So it was really fun to go through the submissions.
Yeah, we definitely got a bunch of submissions also that were like, this is not really fitting for this at all. Definitely, once again, we're planning to have like a segment of like the games that completely shouldn't fit in the certain categories. Like there are certain people who, let's be honest, maybe we're overestimating their art skills for the work of art category. I have to be honest with that one as well. We had similar things with the mechanic magic. But kind of speaking of that art, and this is one where I also want to thank one of the lovely sponsors who makes these events possible, the BiteMe Games Award, because at the end of the day, it does take kind of some time for us, is Rive, and they're bringing you the next category, the UX Marks the Spot category. We'd worked with them before. Basically, what this category is all about is about UIs that just, they just hit different. They are really intuitive to look at, really nice to look at, or maybe they don't even have to be super elaborate, but they just have to be very concise and really explain in a quick eye glance, basically, how does this work? What are your statuses, for example, for the game and all of that. Rive, if you haven't heard of them, we've made some videos with them before. They allow you to have an engine agnostic approach, basically, to creating beautiful, scalable UI for your games completely for free as well. So that's something definitely, if you are really focusing on maybe next year doing the UX Marks the Spot category, checking them out as well. I guess with that out of the way, Thomas, what are the nominations for the UX Marks the Spot category?
Let's take a look.
First off, we have Mechanophasia. What looks to be very simple is at the end of the day a kind of very polished feeling as well. And then next up we have Iconia Defenders, taking the tower defense genre and being like, what if everything was just a UI? And then next up we have Riot Ride, That's once again very first glance looks very simple, but gets the message, gets the memo of what should this style of game have in terms of a UI. And then finally doing a 180, going back to Tyranny, where you have probably one of the most complex mechanics, but on top of that you still need to find a way to organize everything neatly, make it very visible, and just have a good experience in general, because this game definitely, I have to be honest, wouldn't work on the art department.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, I think it's really funny to see the contrast between the submissions, where you have, in my opinion, a good UI is something that you don't think about and it just works. Like, it can't stand out to you because then it's a bad UI. Look at Forge Industry, for example, where it's too complex. And that's what I think it's really funny, because we saw Riot Ride with a very simple and clean UI, and then we saw Tyranny, which does so many things, but manages to get the message across anyway.
Maybe, speaking of Forge Industry, I kind of want to ask you, Thomas, a question. We haven't, this is unprepared, guys. Where would you have placed Unicycle Pizza Time? Of course, we were like, maybe we shouldn't include our own game in the nominations. I feel like that's stirring the books a little bit too much. But so far, which category, if you could only choose one, which one would you have personally nominated Unicycle Pizza Time in? And do you think we would have had a chance of winning compared to the other submissions?
I mean, I think for sure it has to be Biggest Blast. We can't really compete against some of the art we've seen, especially from a disqualified one, which I thought was so good once again, but we will cover it in our actual stream. But I think Biggest Blast for sure, because I think or maybe Mechanic, because it's a unique mechanic, but I think gameplay-wise, UPT stands out really hard compared to other games we've made. What about you?
Yeah, I think definitely Biggest Blast, although it's kind of like mixed feelings, because is it fun or is it aggravating? It's like a 50-50 split for our users. One half loves it. Oh, it seems I disappeared again. The other half hates it. We are experiencing some issues. We'll get through it, probably.
You're back.
Ta-da, I'm back. And I think, speaking of Unicycle Pizza Time, definitely a bit of a niche game, but nowhere near as niche as some of our viewers. This is one of those things where We often say this in videos as well of like, hey guys, let's try and keep making like genres that are kind of, there's more than 5 people in the world who would be interested in actually playing this. Some of you listen, and honestly, I think this is one of the biggest categories we got submissions for as well. You all love making niche games that like 4 people in the world probably are interested in. So we just wanted to highlight those as well in this niche but neat category for games that may not appeal to everyone, but the people it does appeal to are like, hell yes, let's go.
Yeah, it seems our viewers really hate money. So let's take a look at the 4 people who we thought, well, hate the money the most.
First off, we have Heart Chip. This is a game that we also played on stream, where we told like stream as well, like there are 4 people in the world who will love this. And it's come out now, and it definitely did seem to have a bit of that vibe. Next up, we have Super Reactor, taking kind of a unique spin on a bullet hell / bullet heaven / whatever it is, but super polished still visually. I just don't know how many people are truly gonna be like, hell yes, this is for me. Next up, we have Core 64, definitely one of the games in our submissions that just the visuals and all of this combined gives a feeling of what the hell am I looking at, but it works. And then finally, once again, Tyranny, despite its in-depth mechanics and crazy deep UX, honestly, this is very much a niche game at the end of the day of auto-battling your own programmed robots.
I mean, yeah, once again, very varied submissions. I think so far we've seen Tyranny 3 times, maybe to give a bit of context, like Martix mentioned. You build your own drone and then you program it. I think especially because it goes so in-depth that you will lose a lot of people, and that's why we call it niche as well.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, also some people, we are looking at chat a little bit. We'll explain the voting at the end of the show, so you'll have to stick around. We're almost halfway through the categories already. We've got 9 categories in total, really, so just stick around a little bit more. By the way, we'll be doing a little after party after this stream is over, where we just talk a bit more about the entire process and things like that. So that's definitely something that you are going to want to stay tuned for as well. And this is maybe one where one of the things that Unicycle Pizza Time did that probably was be a category you could submit for as well is the Better Together category. So this is for multiplayer games, and this is once again a category brought to you by one of our lovely sponsors, Planetary Processing, who we should have honestly used for our multiplayer games. They making MMO scale games basically more approachable to indies by really being an engine agnostic approach to offloading all of the server management, all of the party systems, all of the lobbies, and all of that synchronization, really. So if you are someone who is like, hey, I want to make a multiplayer indie MMORPG, that is probably going to be the way to go. So once again, thank you very much for them as well for helping bring the show to life. The Better Together category, like I said, is focused on games that are multiplayer experiences and that you should, well, just experience together. Probably this is something also, Thomas, that we want to maybe dive in more in like a future game stream as well, where we kind of just give some of these submissions a go. But without further ado, can you tell me, Thomas, I am anticipating, full of excitement, what is the Better Together category and who are the nominations?
Because you're so excited, I expect you to fully hype up every game you mention in this sizzle reel.
All right, let's go, everybody. I'm gonna hype them up. First game that we're gonna cover is once again Cargo. We've seen it before in the show already, but just look at it. Who doesn't love racing cars at very criminally high speeds? Hey, is MKBHD making a cameo in this game? Who knows? Speaking of looking back at people, Soccer in a Box once again. This is something that I am very much also looking forward to at one day playing, because just look at it once again. I said it before. The guy does the floss. Next up, taking a full 180 once again. Let's go back to dungeon crawling RPGs, basically, with Powerlust, where you can, together with your friends, go and conquer magical dungeons and explore everything. And then finally, this one kind of came out of nowhere for me. Dad Olympics. Show that you're the best dad and assert dominance by carrying all the boxes. This is just a blast of a game, if you ask me. So definitely, we've got some good competition once again for this round as well. What is your favorite one, Thomas?
I mean, has to be Dead Olympics, to be honest, because honestly, I think I went on record multiple times saying the games I like making the most are like the very wonky physics-based ones, and this is basically right up my wheelhouse. Like, if this was something you pitched to me for the next game, I would probably instantly say yes. What about you?
Unfortunately, the idea has been claimed by
Yeah,
now,
true,
so we can
true.
make Mom Olympics or something. Who knows?
Stepsis Olympics, or am I going too far? Oh, what?
Uh, who knows? Who knows? No, I think definitely all of the games submitted so far, once again,
Exactly.
are pretty solid. I'm pretty sure Dead Olympics, there's also a devlog series if you're curious a bit more into the entire development of that. It's just a blast. I've looked at a whole bunch of gameplay for it, and definitely it does look very interesting. And then maybe that brings us to at least my personal bread and butter.
It's your baby.
It's my baby. You've probably heard me talk your ears off it at this point. Game trailers. I've done countless of streams. I've made countless of videos talking about what you should do for your trailers. And a lot of you guys blatantly ignore it and don't really make the best trailers. I have to be honest, like some of the submission trailers for like the other categories, I was like, ooh, maybe you shouldn't have put as much text on it. This category, however, is going to be pure trailer perfection. These are the games that have just gone all in on making those dopamine fueled trailers that just make you go, let's go, and I want to play this right now. So I think without further ado, Thomas, don't leave me hanging and tell me, what are the games?
Let's take a look.
First off, we have Hollow Survivors by Danny Deere. Just look at that music and the visuals. This is crack cocaine in a trailer. Next up, we have Oblin Party. Definitely, once again, a 180, very wonky, but just so well polished overall. It's hard to compete with it, honestly. Next up, this kind of came out of nowhere for us, Paper Wars. What seems to be a very simple concept has been elevated with amazing sound design and cinematography, if you ask me, for even though maybe not the most complex looking game on the surface.
Your skills have not gone.
And then finally, we have For Evelyn 2 Shards of Creation by Tailhammer, who is in chat, by the way, as well. So congratulations on that. I think especially here, voice acting, storytelling, really showcases that balance of how you can have completely different styles of game trailers, but all of them still excel in what they do.
I mean, yeah, I think this category is mostly something that you can give your opinion about, because you're the trailer guy here at BiteMe Games. So what is the thing that stands out to you the most?
Out of those trailers, you mean in like which individual trailer, or just what they all did well?
Whatever you want to talk about.
I think what they all did well is none of them started with their logo. I just want to use this as another PSA. Do not ever start your trailer with your studio logo, or you are going to be instantly banned from any future events we do, I think. Please, for everything that is holy, do not start with your logo. There's a lot of other things that you can do about trailers as well. We've made a lot of videos about it. So honestly, I don't think it's that hard to get into this category. But a lot of people just focus on other things, which is fine at the end of the day, but definitely something that you can do a lot of fun with as well. Most of them are indeed also good at syncing action to the music, which is also a really good approach to just making trailers, even if you're not that talented at it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know anything about making trailers, nor about sound design, nor about art. And if I just look at these trailers, it just clicks all together. And I don't know what is happening, but I know I like it. So that's at least what you want your general player base to feel like, I feel.
Yeah, how about you tell us what is the next category, Thomas? Because I think this is one, you are more of the zoomer. Like, even though you're older than me, you say that you have more zoomer energy and I have the boomer energy. So this category definitely was titled after you. Let it cook. What is it about?
Yeah, so basically these are games that are upcoming and that they still have potential in our opinion. So this was, I think, one of the most submitted categories, if I remember correctly. And damn, are there a lot of cool looking games coming at us in the near future. And yeah, let's maybe just take a look at what we thought were the 4 best.
first off, once again, Hollow Survivors. We've seen it in the previous one as well. It just looks so damn good. Next up, Tranquil Isle. Definitely visuals really strong with this one, eliciting those cozy vibes, those cozy feelings. And it does look like a game that is going to bang the moment that it comes out. Next up, we have Towers and Goblins: The Lost Stand, taking kind of a fresh approach to tower defense, adding some fresh graphics onto it and trying to innovate in a pretty cool genre. And then lastly, Corridon. This is definitely one of the more high-budget games of our audience, I feel already. But my god, the budget has been paying off, and this is a game with a successful Kickstarter campaign and all of that I am looking forward to as well.
Yeah, I think all of these games, they are so visually eye-catching in a way that I think all of us got excited by just looking at them. And I think this is probably one of the best ways to capture an audience. So I think definitely they did some really good things there.
Yeah, I think maybe this show in general, just to go back to giving some game dev advice, is well, this is why having good trailers and all of that is great for marketing at the end of the day, because I have been reading chat along and people are like, these games look really good. Sometimes all you have is the visuals of your game and a trailer, and that is all you have to showcase your game. So you have to be able to make the most out of it. And definitely all of the games basically that have been nominated here were really good at doing that. And I think...
Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, what I wanted to say is what really became apparent to me, and I don't want to sound mean to you guys at home, is that we actually have a lot of talented viewers. And I was kind of surprised by that, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but you guys just exceeded my expectations because we had a lot of really, really cool submissions, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think honestly, this is kind of why we wanted to do this, is because none of you, let's be honest, like even though some of the games on here look really good, they will not go and show up on like a future, like the Game Awards and whatever. Like there is just a difference between you and a Balatro. And yeah, sure, even if it's Indie Game of the Year, probably, it is still a very big gap. And we kind of just want to celebrate how you, with more limited resources, with more limited time, can still do really great things and game development. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but it definitely has become way more approachable for a lot of people. And that's kind of the entire point that we want to do here as well. So maybe looking then at that future of game development, because this is the final category already. I know we're going through this kind of fast, but those are for the diamonds in the rough. All of the games that you've seen so far have had kind of a certain level of polish because they have had Steam pages. That was definitely something that we were like, hey, we are looking for games that aren't just your mom's first prototype when she was learning Godot or whatever. But I understand not everyone is immediately ready for that jump into a Steam page. Or maybe there are also like countries where, starting that Steam page isn't that easy either. Because at the end of the day, you still need to get incorporated. You still need that Steam credit and things like that. So that is why we want to showcase some of the games that are planning to go on Steam, maybe in the future, if they get more validation, if they get more resource and whatever. More of those diamonds in the roughs, salvaging the depths of itch.io or other platforms. This is once again a category that is once again brought to you by a sponsor, Crazy Games, who are probably one of the best platforms if you want to release your games on a platform that is probably a bit better than itch.io, in my opinion, for getting organic visibility that focuses on web games as well. So once again, thank you very much for Crazy Games as well for sponsoring this show and this award as well. And I think with that out of the way, Thomas, what does the future generation of game developers have in store for us? What are the diamonds in the rough? First off, we have Crimson Skyline by Rogue Wolf Games. This just looks like a game that honestly deserves better than itch.io. This may sound mean, I don't know. Next up, we have more of a narrative horror experience, The Lost Day. Once again, these games, keep in mind, these are very much still prototypes, guys, but these are the future of like up-and-coming game developers as well, that I think we should celebrate as well. Speaking of the next one, we have Prototype Binds. Prototype is still in their name, but despite that, they still have a really cool visual style, and I am very curious, can they drag this like artistic vision a bit further and make it work more? And then finally, Saharul which looks on the surface like a pretty basic Metroidvania. Definitely, from having played it, gives a lot of depth, or at least a lot of potential for future depth that I am very interested in to see how it will evolve in the future.
Yeah, this was actually the category I was most excited for, because it is mostly the category with most potential. That's also why it's the category we are actually giving the biggest prize to. Thanks to Crazy Games, of course. And what I really loved about this one is the first game we showed with the music there was so intense. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've done a trailer review on it as well, and it was just a really good, like, once again, for a prototype that back when I did the trailer review a few weeks ago, it's like, yeah, this game has been in development for less than 2 months, and I'm like, oh my god, like, if this is what you can make in 2 months, you probably have, like, a lot of it, like, a lot of potential still. Yeah, so once again, maybe we didn't mention this, but because of Crazy Games thankfully sponsoring this category, whoever wins this, we haven't gotten like crazy prizes planned for any of the other categories except for fancy PNG images you can put on your store page and telling your mom that, hey, there is this award show by 2 guys hosted on the internet that you won. Is that we will actually be paying, I think, like about $300 to whoever wins this category to get them that Steam page and to get them some quality capsule art, because I think those are some really critical things that, you know, we want to help kickstart the talent that we have here in this category and hopefully get them onto Steam and get more out of it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. The entire idea behind the BiteMe Game Awards is to celebrate our community, and of course, if we do that, we need to give back to our community as well.
Yeah, so those were already the categories, and 9 categories in total, but there is actually a 10th category that, you know, we didn't make a sizzle reel for, because out of all of the games shown on this stream, we also still want to do a bit more of a, you know, an audience award. I think that's literally what the award is called, actually. Who am I kidding? Where you can choose out of any of these games. Maybe it doesn't win in the specific category, but you still feel like, hey, actually, this is a game that I really think can have a lot of potential and all of that. I think it should still win. You can go and vote for that. I want to very quickly give a little explanation. How is voting going to work before we actually open voting? Because it's going to go live in a few minutes, most likely. The voting will be consisting of a mix of you guys' votes, audience votes, and then also we will be, like, the BiteMe team has, of course, a vote as well. And for certain categories, we're also looking at collaborating maybe with some other YouTubers and getting their votes to count a little bit more as well, to have them, you know, get integrated into the community as well. Because at the end of the day, game development, as much as we like to think of ourselves as the greatest game developers and the greatest game dev YouTubers to ever live, there are plenty of other game developer YouTubers that, honestly, probably a lot of the submissions on this list will have watched as well. So if you can buy me 1 second of time, Thomas, then I am going to start spamming the link for voting, which should be open now.
So are you saying that everyone can already go to bitemegameawards.com and they can start voting for the audience vote, or?
Not that one, but there is a link
Oh,
already.
my bad. Oh, you had the form.
Yeah, the website will be updated in a coming
Later
few
today.
hours. Yeah, we didn't want to give away any spoilers, but for the hardcore fans in here who really can't wait with voting, there is a link for it right now that I'm going to be pasting. There's a short link. Oh, my paste button does not work. Okay, now there is. If you go to bmg.yt/BGA voting, I already put it in YouTube chat. I don't know, Thomas, can you put it in Twitch chat? Because I don't have Twitch
Sure,
open.
I'll put it in Twitch chat for you. In the meantime, you can buy me a second then.
I'll buy you a second as well. I'm definitely, once again, guys, very grateful for being able to do this. This is definitely not the average stream that we're doing. And sure, we have some technical difficulties. We are fuzzy. I have disappeared a few times, but I think overall, this is the first time we're doing this. I think so far it's been a great experience. We want to do this more. We want to celebrate the community more. So thank you very much for having been following us for over 2 years at this point. This is kind of our way for giving back.
Exactly. And like we mentioned before, on December 20th, 2024, while Marnix instantly disappears again as I start talking. Yeah, and this time you're gone for good, by the way. I can't add you back, it seems. You need to rejoin. But what I was saying is that on December 20th, 2024 at 8 p.m. CET, that we will do the actual show. We will be physically, so you will see a full resolution Marnix that time, so you don't have to worry that he will be blurry that day. And we have a fancy show in mind, and we hope we can achieve it, of course, for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be in 4K
You're double again.
next time. Oh. You shouldn't hear me double. Oh, well. Am
Perfect.
I double? Okay.
Perfect.
You'll see us in 4K in our full suits again. I'll pull out my gold tie. Now we just stick to the blue tie to be a bit more, the nominations. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. It's time to go and vote now. We'll be updating the BiteMeGameAwards.com website in a few hours if you're watching the VOD later on as well. So that should be updated, where once again, you can take another look at all of the nominations and all of that and go and cast your votes. Oh my god. Once again, this stream is going to come to an end now, just to keep the VOD kind of neat and tidy. However, we will be doing an after party that is going to be starting like probably in a few minutes from now. So don't leave, stick around on our YouTube channel, wait a few minutes, and then we'll just talk a bit more about the event and get a little bit less formal maybe, and just talk about a bit more of the experience and have an interaction with you guys, because that is at the end of the day the community that we're doing this for.
So if you're on Twitch, just stick around. And if you're on YouTube, if you go to our channel, you will see a second one where it's called the After Party. You can join that one, and we will appear there in a couple of minutes, like Marnik said.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, everyone, for watching. And I wish you a great day, great evening. Congratulations once again to the nominations. Now the work isn't over yet. You need to still get people to vote for you. I'll be reaching out with an email as well soon for everyone that got nominated. So keep an eye on your inbox as well. You should hear from me in the next 48 hours tops. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the after party. Have a great